It's a collective effort globally, but also regionally, to develop an open, fair and transparent trading system. I think we all acknowledge that it's in the benefit of everyone. Being, as I mentioned in the meeting, the smallest economy in APEC, I sort of make a proviso though that some of us are not quite at an even level, I guess, in this global village. So whilst we have those principles that we all subscribe to, there's got to be some understanding, I guess, and sensitivity around these provisions, realizing that we're all at different development paths and we're all at different sizes. And I guess this is part of the complexity and difficulty in trying to get these rules to be homogeneous across the board because of these differences. Nevertheless, they're important. But despite that, as I said in there, we're committed to this process. It's important to have these meetings. APEC is very important. We're almost 50% of world trade and world population as well. And you know, I think it's an important forum. And so we're committed to the process. We will make sure that we're attending and participating. We're trying our best at a country level to meet our commitments in that regard, many of which were spoken of today. But we're also aware and conscious of the difficulties around the WTO process and trying to make sure that there is substance coming out of these meetings and we are progressing this agenda. So yeah, around those issues, at the end of the day, we acknowledge that we're moving towards, and we'd like to move towards, a global village that you're able to do commerce, I guess, interact in a business sense. And we acknowledge that, you know, it's business and the private sector that are going to drive development, but within a very clear framework, such that it is fair and it is transparent and it is inclusive, the word I used. We smaller economies need to be included in development in a meaningful way, not be exploited, I guess is the word I like to say. If things are not even, if we're not quite at the level of sophistication as some of the bigger economies, there'll be a tendency to exploit us, I guess. Maybe that's too strong a word, but we can find ourselves, as has happened historically, stripped of our resources, and it appears to be a trade, but in fact it's not genuine development, I guess. It's development based on removing the resources from us so that they can build and grow sustainable economies elsewhere. And so we're just very conscious of this issue. You know, countries like Papua New Guinea that are resource rich, we've got to make sure that these rules allow us to develop sustainable, inclusive, meaningful, long-term economic foundations, not find ourselves with at the end of the day with a large population and essentially our assets stripped and then trying to then repair the damage after the fact. So in all these discussions, it's very important that, as I say, that, and then of course, you know, ultimately in a global sense, we need a basis for a sustainable future globally in terms of climate change and energy security and food security. Are these systems facilitating that, or are we progressing down a path of overpopulation, pollution, environmental degradation and destruction, that all these wonderful rules, but at the end of the day, they're facilitating a world and an economy that is not genuinely sustainable. And that is where countries like Papua New Guinea want to begin a process of a new type of economy, an economy that is small population based, that is not just growth driven at all costs, that is not just based on economic growth, but it's based on human development. And we want to, in this stage of our development curve, we want to make sure that that is the basis of the way we develop Papua New Guinea, and we want to make sure that in a global sense, these issues are at the fore as well. And sometimes when things are driven by business, there is a tendency to focus on profit and growth and not much consideration to other aspects in terms of meaningful human development.